6.4, 9:15 a.m. item presentation of the crop report, 2022 crop report. And we have our Ag Commissioner, Catherine Vanderwall. Good morning.
Yesterday, our official printed copies.
Thank you.
So good morning, Catherine Vanderwall, Agricultural Commissioner. So this morning I'm here to present to you our 2022 Crop and Livestock Report. Sorry, I get adjusted here. So I'd like to thank my staff, Avella Gayton, Sam Upton, and Janice Luke, in helping gather the information and compiling the data that's presented here today, as well as the industry who provided their information. So the 2022 crop report, the estimated gross production value for 2022 was approximately $107 million. This represents a 28% increase from 2021. So some things to note for 2022 is that our nursery and timber production were down. In 2022, we had 0 people registered for the industrial hemp program, so there were no participants in the program. And then additionally in 2022, we added a cannabis crop report insert for the first time. So this reflects the 2022 production square footage for both mixed light and outdoor cultivation. And I would like to thank the tax collector and community development for providing this information. Going forward in 2023, my office is looking forward to working with the cannabis industry to expand on the data that we're going to include and provide. So this will, hopefully kind of something that mirrors the traditional ag as far as gross production values and really kind of tease out the different categories instead of just having the square footage listed. Okay, next. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I know I had a long introduction. So just kind of going through some of our old crop reports, I thought it was just interesting to take a look back. What were things like 50 years ago? So I picked out some of our main commodities that we still produce here in the county today. So 50 years ago, looking at 1972, our pear acreage was 7,000 acres. Wine grapes sat at 270 acres. Our walnut industry was 9,600 acres. Our field and seed crops, so that includes pasture, hay, wild rice, any other type of grain crops, was about 181,000 acres. And our cattle and calves were about 9,500 head. Wow. How do I go to next? No, it's not working. Oh, that's okay. Okay. So and then kind of fast forward to 2022, where we stand today, our pear acreage has decreased. We're sitting at about 1,300 acres. Wine grapes has obviously increased. We're about almost 11,000 acres. Our walnuts, field and seed crops, and cattle and calves, all those numbers have decreased as well. Walnuts were now about 3,500 acres. Field and seed crops is about in half at 91,000 acres. And our cattle numbers are about 1,600 head in the county. Next. So this graph just kind of shows the 50-year comparison with 1972 being in green, and then the blue represents 2022 numbers. I did not put the field and seed crops in this graph because the numbers were so large, so it drastically shrank everything else down. Next. And then last year, I presented this same graph, but it was a 15-year gross value comparison. I expanded it out a little bit this year. So this just shows, the overall gross value each year for the county. As with any industry, you have your peaks and your valleys. It just kind of goes up and down. So I'm just going to continue keeping this going, just so we can see the overall trend as the years go by. So our top 5 commodities for 2022. Go to the next one. Sitting in at number 1 is our wine grapes at about $84 million. Number 2, despite our small acreage, is our pear industry at about $16 million. Number 3 is our field and seed crops. As I mentioned, this is like pasture, hay, and other grain crops, and that's about $2.2 million. Our number 4 commodity is cattle and calves at about $1.5 million. And then our last number 5 one is miscellaneous livestock. So this includes goats, sheep, hogs, meat, birds, and that type of animals. And that's at $763,000. So our cannabis production, again, this information was compiled and gathered from both community development and the tax collector's office. So this gives the square footage that they had on record for 2022 for mixed light cultivation and outdoor cultivation. And as I'd mentioned earlier, going forward in 2023, working with the cannabis industry to expand that section to include gross production values, as well as the different categories. Does the board have any questions?
Supervisor Green?
Yeah, just a compliment. I know it's bare bones, but to see cannabis included in the crop report is very exciting. I know it's a first step, and I don't know how other crop values get reported to your office, but I know if the cannabis industry is listening, hopefully we'll figure out a way to get some of those inputs. But just very quickly, I want to point out that on the square footages, I counted about 7.6 acres of mixed light and about 178 acres total for outdoor. Substantial, definitely. Would like to see those numbers higher, but we do have a discretionary use permit process that has made this kind of a slow growth industry. We'd love to see future reporting in acres, just so we can have apples to apples when we're comparing against other crops. And also to signal to those people that think, oh, cannabis is so out of control, it is just a fraction of the acreages that are devoted to traditional crops in this county, and probably will remain that way for some time. So thank you very much for including what's in here this year, and looking forward to a more detailed breakout in future years as the industry networks with you to provide that information.
Right, thank you.
Any other comments from the board? It's always hard to see walnuts go down. And I know the last couple of years were really tough. It was 2021 that the trees started to show the damage
Yeah.
in the spring of 2021. Yeah, in the last couple of years. It's been hard for them to recover, and I know it's hard for those farmers too.
Yeah.
Supervisor Crandall?
Yes, I wanted to ask about, I seen that there was an email from some constituents, and I wanted to just see when, because I know that in the comment or the response, there was a statement that because of the federal regulation, we weren't necessarily going to report the amount, and then there was a request to see when we can address it at a later date or something of the like when it comes to the amount. And so I'm just giving that input as another response that I received back from some of the folks that asked the question. And I don't know if there's more dialogue about this or not, but I just wanted to, make that out. So.
Well, it sounds like it'll be in next year's report, and maybe next year with the insert, we can have a look back at the years since legalization so that we can have some benchmarks, see how we're growing.
As far as like the production values, possibly, a lot of the information that's presented here, my office is doing surveys, so we're actually reaching out and contacting growers. So the information is it's what we can get.
Right.
So it depends on who wants to provide that information, how far back they want to go. But that's something we can, definitely reach for.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Supervisor Spatier?
Yeah, I appreciate the questions that were asked regarding the cannabis portion of the presentation, but I think it's also a little difficult because there's so many different avenues of how people sell it. Are they selling it as oil? Are they selling it as flour? Are they selling it as, I don't even know what it's called, frozen fresh or something like that? That value can be quite varying, and with the market being volatile as it has been, it's kind of hard probably to capture that. So I'm looking forward to you finding out a way to get that number so we can get that average across the board. And I think that if we have something started this year, I expect next year it'll say 2022, here were the numbers, and here's 2023 with the new numbers, so we can have that comparison just like we have here. One of my questions are the organic production. I know it's kind of a mixture of all the stuff above it, and it says crops include. I'm just wondering if we can get maybe like the top three, because it's 6,000 acres, which is a lot of acres. What represents the largest organic crop in the area, just out of curiosity? And so I don't need the answer today right now, but just something that I would like to see in the future is just a little bit of a breakdown, since it's not like it's 12 acres. It's actually quite a large amount. It'd be nice to know.
Right.
Okay. Anyone from the public?
The vegetables went up 1.8
Those went up. They did. Erin has her hand up. If you want to unmute and state your name, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Erin McCarrick, Clear Lake, Vice President, Lake County Cannabis Alliance. Yeah, thank you for including cannabis as the numbers in there. And thank you for the work that the CDD and the Ag Department and the board and the Community Development Department has been doing with cannabis to integrate a little, more closely with Ag and embrace it. So thank you all for that. And the president of the LCCA and NARA being on the task force have helped make those connections, Jen Smith and Nara Del Baca. So thanks to them as well. I was actually going to say what Supervisor Green said. So if next year it could be reported in acres, 7 million looks like a lot, but it's only 178 acres. And 178 of outdoor plus 7.6 of mixed light is about 1% of the wine grapes right now. So if it's possible to report in acres next year, that'd be awesome, because it looks very overwhelming to see the number 7 million. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Erin. Do we have anyone else in Zoom? All right, not seeing any hands. I'll bring it back to the board. Any other questions before we move on? All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your report every year.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
I feel like in the past we made a motion to approve the crop.
Oh, do we have,
There was no recommended action. I just feel like in the past we approved it.
do we approve it?
That came up last year.
Oh, do we always have the same question?
Yes, your board may move to approve the report. That is an option for your board.
I'd like to make it official. I move to approve the crop report as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
All right.